From Islam's mother pushing him to retire while on a high, to picking a fight with the UFC president, here's why Islam Makhachev will never return to the UFC. Makhachev's days of retirement are right at his heel. In a show-stopping turn of events, Islam successfully retained his championship title against Alexander Volkanovski as the reigning UFC featherweight champion, in an intense showdown that took place on February 12, 2023 at UFC 284. Makhachev got a unanimous decision from the judges. The high-octane battle between these two fighters was so incredible that it was labeled Fight of the Night, too. Since then, he's taken on no new matches. It seems like Islam is ready to press the brakes. The talk of the town these days is that he's retiring. Islam dropped a bombshell, revealing his mother, unlike his father who watches all his fights, doesn't watch combat sports at all. In fact, she believes that her son should retire from fighting while he's still at the top of his game. But why does Makhachev's mother want him to retire? It turns out she simply can't bear to watch people getting hit in the brutal world of combat sports. When Makhachev returned home after a fight, a group of people along with his mother were waiting for him. Mama wasted no time in telling Islam that since he's a champion now, he should think about wrapping it up. She added that Khabib listened to his mother, so when will Makhachev listen to his? Naturally, this shocking revelation has left all of us wondering about his future in the sport. But don't worry, because he won't go down that easy. The man is hell-bent on making his legacy and believes he's got a lot to achieve in the octagon. More so, his sight is set on breaking the record for the most successful defenses in the UFC lightweight division, a feat currently shared by his friend and former training partner, Khabib Nurmagomedov, as well as UFC legend BJ Penn and Bellator contender Benson Henderson. Crossing this milestone would put Makhachev in a league of his own. He reminded his mother that Khabib defended his title before retiring and feels the need to do the same. Retirement is not an option for him at this moment. While it's a difficult topic for his mother, who prefers a more peaceful approach to life, Makhachev's father is the complete opposite. To see Islam's parents being at odds in the background has added a shocking twist to his journey in the UFC. But retirement will be the only option for him if he can't escape a shocking allegation ruining his name. UFC lightweight contender Dan Hooker is gunning for Makhachev. Dan, who is a longtime friend and teammate of Volkanovski, accused Makhachev of cheating by using IV hydration to gain an advantage during the fight. But it seems there's more to the story. Islam's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, fought back and said Hooker is just upset about his defeat when Makhachev thrashed him in UFC 267 in 2021 and clarified that Makhachev didn't use IVs in Australia. In fact, on fight night, Volkanovski weighed 2 pounds more than Makhachev, contradicting the IV allegations. While someone else may have used IVs, Makhachev didn't. The reason this accusation could bring Islam's career to a screeching halt is because there's been a ban on IV drips by the U.S. anti-doping agency officials, mostly because the IV drips have been found to cause excessive weight cutting among athletes. Secondly, they can hide or mask the presence of performance-enhancing drugs. And Ali is now scraping all evidence and tweets about IV drips from his Twitter account too. He's doing what he can to save Islam and his shaky position in the UFC. But Makhachev seems to have forgotten how to play it safe because he's outright shaming fighters and the organization. The UFC lightweight champion has shamed the BMF title by calling it bad and even told Dana White to stop this belt gimmick. He has zero respect for it and couldn't care less to win it. More so, he's throwing shade at all those fighting for it. To him, it is meant for fighters who cannot become champions. He specifically mentioned Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz, the initial contenders for the BMF title, and questioned the value of the belt. Makhachev urged White to put an end to the BMF title concept, confidently saying that he can easily defeat the fighters involved. As for the fight between Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje on July 29th, Islam predicted that Poirier would win, simply because he's just the better boxer of the two. But maybe he has the right to speak his mind, because he does have quite a record, with 24 wins and 1 loss under his belt. Now he's got to shift his focus on his gameplay and tactics for the UFC 294. In UFC 280, Makhachev headlined the event and captured the empty lightweight title by defeating Charles Oliveira. While the main event for UFC 294 has not been announced yet, fans are dying to see a possible rematch between Makhachev and Alexander. Now, the chances of this rematch happening at UFC 294 are slim, as Volkanovski is currently focused on facing Yair Rodriguez, the interim featherweight champion. Meanwhile, Makhachev has other contenders to consider in the lightweight division, such as Poirier. While it seems unlikely that Makhachev and Volkanovski will have a rematch at UFC 294, both fighters might still feature on the card in separate fights, giving fans an exciting match. Except, he didn't want to sit patiently till his time came to shine. Islam wanted to compete again this summer, but UFC officials decided to keep him on the sidelines until the annual Abu Dhabi event. There are no matches in the lineup still for the guy. Makhachev revealed that UFC matchmakers Sean Shelby, Hunter Campbell, and Dana expressed their intention to give him time to rest and prepare for his next fight in Abu Dhabi. While the exact date is not specified, the UFC typically holds a major event in Abu Dhabi in September or October. Despite the disappointment of a delayed title defense, Makhachev deserves a break after a busy year. But there are more matches on the table for Islam. The president of the UFC is eager to witness a rematch between him and Oliveira. Oliveira delivered a wicked good performance against Beneil Dariush at UFC 289's co-main event, which took place at Rogers Arena in Vancouver, Canada. He secured a technical knockout victory over the fourth-ranked lightweight contender in the first round, adding another impressive finish to his record of 20 inside the octagon. This win puts Oliveira in a unique position, as he defeated the fighter who was previously considered the front-runner for a lightweight title shot with a victory. And Dana is eager to see the two together in the ring again. As per him, the fight should happen, but Islam has other plans. He was waiting to knock heads with Dariush. Makhachev confessed his disappointment over Beneil's loss to Charles. As the current UFC lightweight champion, Dariush's defeat is the worst-case scenario for him. He thought their match was a good one, but was looking for an actual challenge by wanting to take on a different player. Beneil had an impressive streak of 8 consecutive victories, making him the right contender for Makhachev. You see, he wanted to add a new name to his record of wins. While Islam might be rightfully cocky, for now, he hasn't agreed to a rematch with Charles just yet. And when fans asked him if he was scared of him, he just brushed those claims, saying he'd always be able to take him down. Charles is now desperate to humble Makhachev. After Islam congratulated him on his win and commented that there were a lot of levels to his game, Oliveira quickly commented that there are always levels in a game of this scale, and that they'd meet soon. As someone born and raised in Sao Paulo State, he sees a match between him and Islam as an opportunity to have a grand event in his hometown and believes that a Makhachev vs. Oliveira 2.0 would be a perfect headliner. But Islam's beef isn't with him. He's got his eyes set on Dana White. The UFC president made an embarrassing mistake by forgetting the name of the lightweight champion. UFC 284 in Perth was meant to be one of the biggest events of 2023, and Makhachev didn't hold back from criticizing White for not bothering to promote his match enough. And this oversight by White felt intentional to him. But the real trigger came during a post-fight press conference for UFC Fight Night. White stumbled over Makhachev's name. While he didn't stutter saying Volkanovski, he pretended to forget Islam. So, if Makhachev demands a match with Dana White, don't say you didn't see it coming. So there you have it, folks. From picking a fight with the UFC president to Islam's mother pushing him to retire. This was why Islam Makhachev will never return to the UFC.